Okay, so I'm going to do a Confetti Legacy 32 splice using Yale's Blue 32 splicing method. And the first thing I want to do is I want to use 3 feet of Yale's core reinforcement material, whatever they want to call it. And I'm going to I cut 3 feet. I'm going to make a mark at 3 1/4 inches, and then I'm going to make another mark at 18 inches. And then I'm going to set this aside. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this Legacy 32 out to 9 feet. And I'm just going to tie a knot this off at 9 feet approximately. There you have it. Okay. So now I have a 7/16 fid. I'm going to make a number of marks. I'm using a white crayon to mark the Legacy. And I'm going to make a mark at 1 fid. And then I'm going to make a mark at a short fid. Then I'm going to make a mark at 3 inches, and that's my eye size. And then I'm going to make a mark at 1 and a short fids. Those are my marks. So what I want to do is I want to pop my core at my second eye mark, that 3-inch mark that I made. And the sleeve on this is really tight. So I'm going to use my awl, and I'm going to open this up to expose the core. And I'm going to grab 2 sets of picks when I do it this time. And then 1 set of picks going down. And it will open that up pretty good usually. There's my core. I kind of dig in there. It's not an easy core to pop, so you kind of have to work at it. It takes a minute sometimes. And we're going to want to mark this core. There, I'm up underneath it. We're going to want to mark this core right where we pop it. So I'm going to, before I even pull it out, I'm going to make my mark right there. Then I'm going to try and work this out, twist it back and forth, try to get a little bit better underneath it. Okay. I'm going to pull that right out. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pull this out a ways, a couple of feet, and I'm going to balance the rope. By grabbing at the knot and milking the slack back. And then I'm going to make a mark where that ended up. And that's my balance mark. And from there, I'm going to pull this back, and I'm going to measure out 2 short fid lengths from my balanced mark. I usually just mark it 1, 2. From there, I'm going to take a piece of tape, and I'm going to take this off. And I'm going to remove this piece of core, like this. Then I'm going to mark the core 1 fid. All right. So there's one of the little tricks I do sometimes is I'll pull this back And I'll put a pin through it right here. That gives me plenty of room to work with without having to worry about slack. Okay. So this rope has a bedding strand in the core. So what I want to do is I want to remove part of that bedding strand. I'm going to measure up 3 inches, and then I'm going to remove the bedding strand from the core, which is just 3 ends right there. Pull that out. I'm going to cut that off. And the next thing I do is I'm going to mark the tapers on my core. And from that one fid mark, I'm going to go down. It's 2 plies, so there's 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. I'm going to mark one end from each one of these. 1 pair, 2 pairs, 3 pairs, 4 pairs. And I'm marking the same one on every one. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pull those ends out. Trying not to be too aggressive and making tension pulls in my core. All right. So now I have So now I have 4 ends on each side. So I'm removing 8 ends from my core. I'm going to go ahead and cut those off. So it looks like this. Now, I want to mark the taper for my sleeve. Now, at the 1 fid mark, I measured a fid, and then a fid in a short, and then a short fid. So at that 1 fid mark, I'm going to mark 8 sets of pairs, and I'm going to go every other set for 8 sets. So at that mark, I'm going to mark 1 set, so at that mark, I'm going to mark 1 set, then I'm going to skip 1, 2, skip 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now with confetti, it's a little confusing sometimes because there's so much black, but you just have to pay attention to where the parts that you can mark. Now I'm going to cut my tapers out carefully. Sometimes you cut the wrong one. I mean, one end's no big deal, just keep going. Pull these tapers out. looks like this. It's tapered right down nice. So you end up with this. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark my sleeve at 4 3/4 inches. And I'll just make a mark directly across. And I'm going to mark the core at 4 3/4 inches. Okay. So after I do that, the next thing to do is you take this core that you've marked already. And, all right, so the end that I marked 3 1/4 inches, I'm going to put my fid in, my 7/16 fid. I'm going to put my fid in. I'm going to put it on here up to the 18-inch mark. So it looks like this. I'm going to take this, I'm going to attach it to my fid. Put this on there. Part of the reason why I pinned this off is so that it would just, everything stays back here. I don't have to mess with it too much until I need to. Alright, so the next part is to perform the splicing the sleeve and the core together. So I'm going to take my fid, now that it's already attached, and I'm going to go in that 4 3/4 inch mark that I made. And I'm going to go through my sleeve, taking care to not split any ends, just go straight through. Okay. And then I'm going to go through once, and then I'm going to go up 2 picks, and then I'm going to go inside and go down to where my taper marks are, where I started my taper. I'm going to go just a few picks past it, and it's going to be tough to get your fid through there because this sleeve is really tight. So you kind of have to push on it a little bit, but you'll get it. And then you go through like this. Carefully pull that through. So you have this. Now, I'm going to pull this back. I'm trying not to get this. Sometimes you have to pin it off, but I'm just going to pull this back so I can see my mark, my 4 3/4 inch mark that I put on my core here. I'm going to go through there, fold this over. Okay. So I make like a Bremel. I'm just going to kind of pull this tight so they're tight. I'm leaving this end out. And I'm going to do the same with this side. But I'm not going to tape it. I'm just going to put my fid in. 2 picks down. Carefully go in here. A couple of picks past where my mark was. This in there, it's tight. It'll go right there. I'm going to hold it at the crossover, I'm going to pull it tight. This crossover should be kind of tight. It doesn't be perfect. It should be kind of tight right there. If it's tight, it'll lay flat. I'm going to cut my tape off, and I'm just going to do a rough 45-degree angle on this. Just like that, nothing fancy, just a little 45. And the same with this. Then I'm going to grab it by the crossover. I'm just going to milk that back. And your tail should be somewhere in here. And where you popped your fid through, you'll probably get a little bunching up or whatever. Just kind of work it back with your finger. It's fine. If these tails get a little out of hand, try not to be too aggressive with them. But you can trim them back just a little bit. Now I'm going to take this sleeve, and I'm going to bring it back over my splice just far enough so that I find my mark on the core, that 1 fid mark. and I'm going to take my fid and I'm going to go in at that one fid mark. You should see a little bit of your core ends there. You should try and go in like at the end of where your core taper is. And I'm going to go in that 3 inches that we cut off. The 3 inches from the bedding strand that you cut out. That's what you fill with this core. Now I just use my awl and I kind of just push it through like that. And I kind of work it back with my fingers to try and get this like this. You want it so it's nice and snug. There's not a whole, you don't want it sloppy. If you just take a second to make sure that it's not too far down, you can work it up so that it has a nice crossover. And then I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna hold this crossover and I'm gonna milk this core all the way up to here over the splice. So the entire splice that you just performed is all underneath this. Okay, now I take my pin out. I don't need to hold this core back anymore. So I'm left with this. So what I need to do now is I need to take my FOB tool, my wire fid, and I'm going to go in the crotch of the eye. And you don't want to snag any ends. You want this to go right inside without snagging any core or without splitting a sleeve end. And I'm going to pinch this right where it ends. I've milked all the slack out of this. I'm pinching it right where it ends, and I'm coming out. A little. Okay, now I'm just going to pull this through carefully. There. I'm going to snug this up a little bit. You don't want this all twisted. I mean, if you do this right, you're going to have very little play in this part right here. If this is baggy and you have a bunch of slack, then you didn't milk it down enough when you were doing this part. Okay, so after our second eye mark, there's a fid and a short mark. You can't see it because it's white crayon, but it's right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to take my wire fid and I'm going to go in and I'm just picking sleeve. And I can feel with the wire fid that I'm only picking sleeve. If you snag the core on this part, it's not going to go right. So I've got this through here. I just want to work it. Sometimes it goes a little tough. But you just slowly work it through. Before I do anything, I want to give this a 45. And then with this all bunched up like this, where I pulled it through, I'm going to grab this crossover and I'm just going to milk it back. I'm holding this crossover because I don't want this to work itself back out. It looks like this. So when it's all put together, it's going to have this piece. When the outer sleeve gets buried inside for a length, it has a tendency to go a little rough. So you just take it slow and it'll bury easy. You grab it in chunks. Slowly just burying it in. Just grabbing a little bit at a time, working it in. pulling the slack up. A little bit more. I can use my mallet. Just kind of compress. Every time I pull on it, I can feel it go in a little bit more. There you have it. My mark right there. Then I would just finish this up with a box stitch or a Samson style whipping. Sometimes you have to just keep milking it and working it. It goes a little bit at a time, but it will go. Sometimes you have to put a prusik on it, or just use your hands to get that every little bit of slack up. But eventually you get there. You have it.